Hello, excited to be with y'all today. I'm AJ McMahon, and we get to empower children overcoming ADHD. In our journey today, we continue. Glad you're here. We're going to dive into practical wisdom for empowering children, and we're going to start this series now talking about children that I would say are having medium difficulty. You think about the story of Goldilocks and the three bears, and Goldilocks in the story went into this, I don't know, the bear's lair. And there were beds. These were sophisticated bears, and they had beds. And one bed was too hard, one was too soft, one was just right. Now, I am not saying that we're talking about just right difficulties as far as medium challenges. I'm just trying to illustrate that some of us are in different situations with where we are working with a child or our child or those children. And we're going to talk about practical wisdom for children with, I would say, medium difficulties because, we you can extrapolate based on your situation from this. You can adapt if you see that your child or the children that you are concerned about are having difficulties that you might consider milder or more difficult. But I would say medium difficulties are children that have had struggles that are complex, that are challenging. These struggles can be in a variety of different ways. They can be in school, academically. It can be something with aggression. It can be something with having trouble transitioning. There can be challenges with bedtime. There can be challenges with doing things that they need to do on a daily basis, like their chores or brushing their teeth or getting dressed or getting their shoes on. They can have challenges with emotional type of outbursts where they shut down or they have long crying spells or they get into these emotional situations, whether it's big feelings or they sometimes just won't seem to snap out of whatever kind of emotional situation or challenge they might be having. Parents can be very confused in these situations because they care about their children and they're working with them and they want them to be better, but they're stressed. Parents are usually stressed in these situations. They feel confused, they can feel defeated, especially when there may be other things in life that are going on that contribute to the struggles and difficulties that the parent may be dealing with in general. It might be a single parent, it might be a parent where they and their other person are not on the same page, or other parent or caregiver are not on the same page. It might be where there are multiple family members involved, and that could be a challenge. Or it could just be that with their child, they're just not seeing the hope, the results, the outcomes that they want despite their efforts. So we're going to just focus on practical wisdom. How do we understand children has been covered in a lot of the videos that I've done so far. Please, thank you for being connected with Power of Able, no spaces, those words with no spaces. And thank you for tuning into other videos where we talk a lot about the theory and development and inner temperament and other important facets of a child, specifically 12 and under, that we may need to understand them and then be able to take that knowledge, that wisdom, and apply it with our own knowledge and what we bring to the table to be able to, for you to empower them to succeed. And I know you can. You may feel defeated, you may feel discouraged, you may feel hopeful, you may feel enthusiastic. However you come today, I'm glad you're here and I'm excited as we talk about practical wisdom for children with medium challenges. So these medium challenges, you would say, well, let me go back. I often find that with children with what I'm going to talk about as medium challenges, when I talk to whoever the adult may be working with this child, they, as we talk through things, as we talk through challenges, a lot of times the adult will identify either with what we're talking about as far as developmental factors, and they'll often identify with what we're talking about as far as what the child might need, as far as firm and consistent discipline, a plan to be able to speak life into them, and more importantly, to reinforce that with your belief in them through actions that convey that I'm going to hold you accountable for the healthy expectations that I have for you, the changes and transformation that I believe in for you, because I believe you're able to accomplish these things. So I'm going to put my foot on the gas pedal when it comes to holding you accountable. So in this, what I see is parents have something to draw on. They're not feeling so far gone, or their children are so far that they're just really mired in defeat and exhaustion. So in this situation, the child may have had trouble for months. They may have had trouble for years. Yet the parent feels challenged, confused, maybe somewhat defeated, but still hopeful and definitely that they can put together a plan to be able to empower their child to succeed. Practically speaking, the foundation of you empowering a child is love, that you care for them. And what does that look like? Love looks like being able to have a relationship with the child, or if you're a professional, for that child to know you care. Children know whether we genuinely care about them or not. That's why in my leap steps, which are in my books, I've tried everything and nothing works. That's the title, because that's the cry of parents I've heard consistently for years. That the L in LEAP stands for love. And love is that relational bond where the child knows that you love them. The question is, if you ask the child, do you know that so and so loves them? What would the answer be? And most of the time, believe it or not, because you're here. And when you're here, no matter what the struggle might be, chances are your child knows that you love them. And even if not, this is something that you can focus on and develop as the foundation. This love is not a permissive love. It's not a, hey, you do what you want love, or I'm here to be your friend love. This love is a, I absolutely want the best for you. And I've got to make sure you know that I love you by spending time, by giving you appropriate attention, by caring for you, and you being able to understand in our relational language that I genuinely love you. Now, a lot of times kids will know they're loved, and because the person in their life is really taking care of their needs. Sometimes we can be so strained with just trying to survive the day to day and take care of what we need, that we're making sure that our children are provided for. And that is a true blessing to them. But sometimes it takes a little bit more. It's making sure there is some undistracted, devoted time with them. And practically speaking, because we're talking about practical wisdom, this can look however you are able to manage. Some of you might, on a daily basis, have 30 minutes to an hour that you can devote to your child with undivided attention. Some of you out there might have 30 seconds to a minute to devote to your child with undivided, devoted attention. Meet your child where you are. Give your child the manageable, reasonable, devoted attention that you can give on a regular basis. I would rather, and your child would probably rather, you be able to dedicate consistently that minute, or that small activity, or that whatever it might be, on a consistent basis, than sporadically, you know, time here or there that, the quote unquote quality time thing. When we talk about quality time to a kid, I really think it matters that we try to show up consistently, that we try to pour some time into them consistently, but not in a way that's going to exasperate you. Sometimes we might have to push ourselves a bit to be able to dedicate this time. But if you feel overwhelmed or exhausted or burdened in giving that amount of time, then that's probably telling you that you need to scale that amount of time back to a place where you can say, you know what, I can do this. This is manageable. It might be 2 minutes a day. It's okay. I've done that before with my kids. Be able to say, I'm going to give each of them 1 minute each each day when I had four in the home. Things like that. Listen, however this might sound, we got to be real. We're here for practical wisdom. And to show your child love, to give them that bond is whatever you can give on a consistent basis of that undivided attention, being with them, connecting with them, laughing with them, eating with them, whatever that might look like. And when you know that you can answer the question, does my child know that I love them? Then you can move on to the second step in the LEAP process, which is the expectation of excellence. This is so important because you get an opportunity to identify the one specific foundational area that you're going to work with your child on at a time. Not two, not three, not seven, not all these different concerns, not what your parents might say or the teacher might say or whoever might say you need to work on, but for you to be able to identify in wisdom, what do I think is the main thing? Not even necessarily the hardest thing, but what do I think, or even the area of concern is what I mean. But what do I think is the main concern that my child with these medium level of difficulties or these lighter level of difficulties or my child with these heavier difficulties might have? But what is the main thing? Oftentimes, the main thing comes down to a foundation of obedience. Children can have trouble in school where I find a lot of parents or caregivers meaning people that are actively involved in helping to take care of that child. Parents or caregivers are often concerned when their child has trouble outside of the home. That can be the most pressured, stressful, that can be where your greatest hopes are challenged, even if they're having trouble outside of the home. Practical wisdom says that you would be more effective in being able to empower your child on a foundation of respect and obedience at home. If your child does not have respect for you or obedience with you, then your efforts to be able to empower them in other areas of their life, whether it's I would call a sub area like bedtime or another area like school or academics or daycare or with grandma or their coach or whoever is likely not going to work. It's going to fall apart because there's not the foundation of obedience and respect in your relationship with the child or your caring relationship if you're a professional with the child. So respect and obedience is paramount. Now, obedience these days can have this impact on us that can seem barbaric and carnivorous to the spirit and all kinds of other words that bring about a connotation of a big huge T-Rex dinosaur chomping up your children and their spirit and your dreams. But obedience is the foundation of respect and order, and children actually feel more, well, let's put it this way. Children know that being obedient is right and healthy. They know it is the essence of broccoli, right, in their relationship between them and authority and healthy authority figures. They know it's the broccoli. They know it's healthy. They are not confused about that. It's just that children operating with a strong will temperament would see other videos of which I go into depth about the inner temperaments and how children are internally motivated. That has nothing to do with your home or parenting style, or no, I'm saying not nothing, but it's not. Anyway, inner temperament is something that I believe that is driven mainly from within, although it can be shaped from without. So thank you for letting me clarify that a little bit today. But children know that this is the broccoli, the healthy thing, or whatever vegetable that maybe your child knows is healthy, but they don't really want to eat it. Okay, maybe your child loves broccoli. More power to you. Yay, great. But you get what I'm saying. They know that this is something that's good for them. So when you have an expectation of obedience in your relationship and respect, basically that they listen, basically that they do what you tell them the first time, this is the foundation of being able to empower them in every other area. I have maybe in my over 25 years of working with children and families, I can only think of maybe one case, and I'm not even sure exactly, but in the sense of, I can think of one case where the caregiver focused on basically helping their child with self-control because they were hitting where maybe that obedience wasn't in place foundationally. Unfortunately, they didn't stick with their process, so I didn't get to see how it played out. But they did make a plan based on helping their child overcome hitting. But that foundation of obedience and respect in their relationship was shaky. I don't know how that turned out. What I can say is that when we're working from a foundation of that respect and obedience, it makes all the difference in the world. So when your child is having medium challenges, it's important to look at, hey, do we already have one, the loving relationship in place, that loving bond? Not necessarily we're talking about giving them attention, right? Because a lot of times it's a myth. The faulty wisdom in our world says that a lot of children are acting out because they're not getting attention. I know this is faulty because there are countless caregivers out there giving the children healthy amounts of attention, and they're still having difficulties. Children aren't really acting up for attention in most cases. That's a very, very rare thing, although it's popularized. So, what we want to focus on, though, is that just making sure that in your relationship and that loving bond, it's a reasonable amount of attention. And if you can answer and when you can answer the question that the child knows that you love them or care, if you're a professional, then hey, everything's in place. You're giving enough attention, even if they're having the difficulties. So the next, when you have the expectation of excellence, I would encourage you that you make listening or obedience or respect the priority. Okay, so let's talk about this a little bit more. If when that is the priority, your expectation of excellence is in along with that. It's something like you would do what I tell you the first time, or like other parents came up with, you would do what I say right away. Or as we did with our son Isaac, you will listen. And that was the foundation of obedience that we need to train in our children through an effective plan. Now that we've got this understanding of what might be the expectation of excellence, but first let me expound on that. When some of you already out there will be able to say, I already have that. My child obeys me, they respect me, they listen to me, they do what I say the first time. I have these other concerns. So for you out there, your expectation of excellence will be specifically to address another concern. It might be something like you will respect the rules at school, you will stay in your seat at all times, you will uh, let me try to think of how we can break it down for a situation like if they're going to grandparents' house, or I expect you to do what grandmother tells you, right? Now, whatever that expectation might look like. It could be something based on that foundation of obedience, like you will not hit, or, you know, just those things. So either the expectation of obedience and respect, as far as like listening, or if that's already in place, then your expectation will be trying to be specific in another area that you want to extrapolate to. Okay. Hope that was clear. If you have any questions about that, ask in the chat or email me at aj@powerofable.com. Not necessarily talking through all the scenarios that you might be encountering, but if you have any questions specifically around this foundation of what your expectation of excellence might be, that is the foundation, because you're going to start with that foundation. And as we go on in other videos, we're going to talk about how you build a specific plan based on that foundation. But let me think today. I want to try to leave you with something maybe that you can work on if you're already watching this video and maybe you're trying to put something together. So, with that foundation, with that expectation, now you're thinking about two things. You're thinking about how do I how do I hold my child accountable to that expectation? So I'm going to communicate that expectation with my child, and then I need to hold my child accountable. Also, the second thing is how do I need to track that expectation? So if that expectation is with you, it's easier to track because you are going to be tuned into whenever that expectation is at play. So you've got to be cautious in the sense that when your expectation of excellence is you will listen or do what I tell you the first time, you've got to be cautious about the instructions you give, because once you put together a plan, and that's the thing, you need to put together a plan first. So just because you may have identified in through this video or maybe a little bit after what your expectation of excellence needs to be, that doesn't mean you're ready to implement it, because until you have a full plan, you're setting yourself up for defeat, because oftentimes our intelligent strong-willed children work to try to thwart the plans that we have because they want things to be at the status quo, what they're used to. And when we're trying to empower them towards excellence, we've got to have a plan of how to do that. So, one thing you can work on now, between now and the next video, or just in general, is to look at one, how might I hold my child accountable? The basic question for that, the practical wisdom is, what's important in my child's life? You want to connect what's important in your child's life to what's important for their life. What's important for their life is the practical expectation that you have, such as you will listen, or you will not hit, or you will obey the teacher. Whatever is the foundational expectation that you have, and you're going to expect them to carry that through with excellence. So that's what's important for their life. Now you're going to think of, well, what's important in my child's life? What what matters to them? Because those are some of the keys to starting to put together what might be your accountability plan. Also, how can I keep track of it? Am I going to be the main one that is giving the directions and expecting them to obey? I can keep track of it that way. But where do I need to be careful when I tell them? Because I don't want to tell them to do things that I can't monitor, track, and so I want to avoid those trouble areas. I want to make sure that I can show them that I'm going to consistently mean what I say by being able to tell them to do something and then expecting them to do it. And if they don't do it according to my expectations, such as right away, I am going to I'm going to have the time, energy, and ability to implement my plan to show them that I am going to hold them accountable consistently. So these are some things you want to think about. How can I hold them accountable, and then how can I track it? If it's something like grandmother's house or at school, how can I do that? How can I get the information on a daily basis to make sure that I know how they're doing, basically whether they're meeting my expectation with excellence or not? So accountability measures you want to start thinking about, start putting together some ideas around that, and then how you can track it, put some ideas around that. And then we're going to talk about further steps for you to put those together into a comprehensive and effective plan that you need before you start changing things. Okay. All right. So tune into the next video. Like, subscribe, comment below things that might be helpful to you or helpful to me. And we'll see you in the next video. I am going to share this medical disclaimer with you. The information provided in these videos is for general knowledge and informational purposes. It does not constitute medical advice. It is essential to consult with a qualified healthcare professional for any health concerns or before making decisions related to your health or the health of your child or treatment. This is not a substitute for trusted professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. And so thank you for being with me today. I'll see you in the next video as we continue to talk about empowering children with medium challenges to help you put together a plan to help them overcome these difficulties. I'll see you next time.